Hey, what's going on everybody, District here. This isn't going to be like some of my other guides where I really go in depth as to absolutely everything that's going on with either movement or aiming mechanics. This instead is just one of the recordings from one of my recent coaching sessions I had with two brothers who are looking to get better at Apex. This part of our coaching session, we really focus on movement mechanics and how to do a lot of certain things within Apex, whether it's 1v1s or just retreating from a fight or getting back into a fight, just movement overall, right? So this isn't going to be an in-depth guide. It's going to be a little bit all over the place, but again, there's a lot of really good information in here, especially if you're trying to get better at movement and implements it, whether it's in fights or backing out of fights, in 1v1s, re-rotating, repositioning, just whatever it might be. This video will definitely help you out one way or another, all right? Make sure to like and subscribe if you do enjoy this video. Again, it's not a traditional video that I usually make, but there is a lot of information in here that you should learn from. Oh, and just before I forget, I actually am currently working on an in-depth movement guide. I'm working on a basic movement guide so that you can understand the fundamentals of movement mechanics. And then I'm also working on an advanced movement guide that's going to teach you how to implement all those movement mechanics, whether it's chaining different movements together, like wall bounce into a bunny hop, into a super jump, into so on and so forth, right? So, you know, stay tuned. A really good video is coming really soon, all right? Cool beans. Hope you enjoyed the video. Love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Like thinking we're doing the right thing, and then like one of us goes down, the other one isn't there in time, type of thing. We just want to see if there's something that you can identify for us, or maybe many things that can help us understand taking fights and doing it effectively. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Gotcha. 1 second here. Yeah, so essentially, from my experience coaching, right, the main thing that I notice is people just don't understand how to effectively take a 1v1 in general. And that obviously leads to issues not being able to take 1v2s or 2v2s or 3v3s, team fights, or just personal fights, right? So once we can kind of understand the fundamentals of what makes and breaks a fight on its own, then you can start applying that to like 1v2s, 1v3s, like your own personal fights, and kind of like if your teammate is taking a fight, how you can kind of work around that also. At the end of the day, the main thing, we're just going to land... Actually, I dropped by accident.
No, we're good. We were tossing Jump Master around.
Yeah, I just picked up my controller and hit the wrong button. Alright, that's all good. We'll just pull it up in here. So all we need here is just grab a gun, and then that's it. Gun, little bit of ammo, that's pretty much it.
We also talked about how, like, that was just something that we tossed around as an idea about taking fights and something we could talk about, but like if there's something you feel like as you watch us or whatever that you feel like we should talk about, we're open to just hearing whatever you feel like you have to say.
Yeah, for sure. You guys, by the way, do you play on mouse and keyboard, or do you play on controller?
I am mouse and keyboard, he's on controller.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm controller.
Not that it makes a huge difference, but in terms of just like movement, it does make a pretty big difference, just what different inputs are capable of doing in general. Have you by chance set up your tap strafe binds if you're on controller and mouse and keyboard? Actually,
I have.
Yes.
I
did.
Everyone said their tap strafe. Okay, huge.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's gonna definitely be an important aspect, because tap strafing is just absolutely game changing. Doesn't matter what anybody says, it is 100% game changing. So first things first, we're going to start off with basically just like the most basic mechanic inside of Apex, and it's really just a variation of sliding, right? So sliding is obviously like the one thing that we're using the most, whether it's to get in fights, out of fights, whatever it might be. As we progress through, like, you know, the skill levels, we're always looking to become more... We're always looking to become as efficient as possible. Roll this thing out of the way here. I guess they made it so it doesn't roll. Okay, sweet. sorry, so we're always looking to become as efficient as possible, right? Whether it's, how long it takes you to get into a fight, out of a fight, reposition to re-engage, how long it takes you to heal, how long it takes you to get into a spot that you can reload, right? However long, we're just always looking to become more and more and more efficient, just like everything else in life. What we're going to start doing is, starting the efficiency process with our most used mechanic, which is sliding, right? So everybody knows when your gun is in your hand, you run a little bit slower compared to when your gun is put away. You get a little bit of extra movement speed when your gun's put away. What a lot of people don't know is that when your gun is in your hand, when you want to slide, you have to do what I call a 1, 2, 3 count, like 1, 2, 3 slide. If you do anything shorter than that, 1, 2, crouch, 1, crouch, 1, 2, right? You'll end up getting dead slides or you'll just crouch, right? Which is a huge issue because if you're coming around a corner, right? Like, let's just say there's somebody, sitting behind this wall or someone's in cover and your goal is to start moving up on them. You come around this corner and you dead slide. Well, now you're screwed because you're in the open and you're going to get lasered. And that could be the end of your fight right there off of one bad slide, right? So instead of going 1, 2, 3, slide in the open, what we're going to end up doing is holstering our guns. As soon as your gun's holstered, we call this an instant slide. You can instantly slide. You don't have to take any precursor steps other than one step, which has to be a sprint, right? So as long as you have that one step in a sprint, you can get that slide jump off, right? Which will just help you move around a little bit faster. Now, obviously, your gun's put away, so you move faster. You can slide sooner. Overall, we're starting to become more efficient that way. Cool. Now this kind of raises an issue where, okay, our gun's put away. Now we can't shoot, right? If we come around a corner and then we pull out our gun, well, that whole time that we were sliding, we didn't have a gun ready, right? Now we're one step behind. It's kind of like taking 2 steps forward or 1 step back, right? Like we're sort of ahead, but not really. Now what we're going to do is we're going to incorporate unholstering our weapon while sliding forward. Essentially what this looks like is unholster forward slide jump, right? And essentially what's happening is our gun is coming out at the top of our slide jump. So on holster forward slide jump, we should be able to shoot at the top of our slide jump, just like that. That was perfect.
Okay.
That was perfect too, right? So you guys nailed it already. I swear to God, I have been with people in the range and done this for 40 minutes, and they still cannot figure it out. So
well,
that is...
I love hearing what you're saying, and I don't want to stop you at all, so I haven't said anything. We watched a coaching session. We were talking about it forever. We've heard you talk about this, and we love it. And it's been it's really difficult to like apply it all the time, but we have worked hard to like make sure we can do it.
Okay, perfect. Perfect.
But yeah, I don't mean to say that you're not giving us great info because this is super
we learned
helpful
it from your video.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. So honestly, like the fact that you already know this is huge because we can kind of just like skip forward through a lot of like the really basic. Like, dude, it takes me forever to go through this, like every single section. Right. It's really tedious. So the next thing that we can do is like start becoming more efficient and start adding, or as we let me back it up real quick. We're always looking to be more efficient. We're always looking to add on to what we can do. Right? So if we can go from a simple 1, 2, 3 slide to 1 slide to unholster slide, all right, well, let's add something else to that. We can't really add anything to the slide portion, but now maybe we can do, like, we're behind a box. If you guys want to stand out here in the open,
over here.
right?
Come on.
Maybe I'm fighting somebody who's behind this box right here. Maybe instead of just having my gun and going unholster slide and fighting like this, right? I can do something a little bit more sophisticated, like unholster slide, tap strafe into him, right? Or unholster slide and back up like that, right? So now we can start adding tap strafes and other movement mechanics into what we're doing. So it's, even though it's nice that we're incorporating these instant slides, that's just the keystone, right? That is just a basic movement tech. Our goal is to become like movement gods. Not that being a god is the goal, right? But to become harder to kill, faster moving, more freaky, essentially, right?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Right, so now we can start, okay, well, if I can incorporate a tap strafe into my instant slide, what else can I incorporate? All right, so maybe there's, maybe instead of coming and sliding forward here, right, where this is a lot of open space is dead space where we can get one magged. It's dangerous space, right? Maybe
Yeah.
instead of just sliding through this open area, okay, well, what can I do here? Maybe I can slide, tap strafe, right? And start getting a little bit, more advanced into everything that I'm doing, right?
Yes.
Right? And that
So-
yeah, go ahead.
I just want to ask, so is what you're saying essentially like, basically trying to take every opportunity you can to not well, when you're talking about like being a movement god, you're, I guess I just visualize it as like taking any opportunity that you feel like you can successfully pull off, to trip the other person up,
Yeah.
potentially make them miss shots.
Exactly.
Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Exactly, yeah, right? Because not that we're going to be doing like crazy stuff every single fight, because not every single
Right.
fight calls for it. But you're going to find moments where there is going to be something and you're going to have to get around it somehow. Just like this situation right here, it's a lot of open space. It would be nice to not have to go through the open. Like right here, boom, instantly got into
Yeah.
cover. So we're chilling here, right? But what if there's somebody who's like already playing on that box? Right? And it's just a hard push, because whenever we play on this side where I am, he peeks the wall. Whenever we come out to this side, he peeks off the box, right? But we want to kill this person. Okay, well, what if I just use a wall bounce? I kind of missed that right there, right? But like, what if we use like a wall bounce, get over top, right? And that just helps us get to where we want to be more efficiently.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And as I'm sitting on the other side of this box, like I can see you on the other side of the wall, but when you did that first, just peeking out, it's like you'd be an easy shot. Whereas when you're moving up towards me, it's just hard to like predict what you're doing. And so even with good tracking, I feel like it's just a way harder to know where to shoot.
Yeah,
So
like-
it definitely seems more effective.
It is 100%. And right, and this starts tying into like everything else too. Not only are we using this to push forward, right? Because like our goal is to push forward, and maybe we'll take a little bit of damage. That happens. That's why we have shields, to take that damage for us, right? But once we are on the way there, right, trying to be as hard. Oh my gosh, I can't even speak. Trying to be.
You're fine.
You know what I'm trying to say, right? Just we're looking to take as least amount of damage as possible in that situation, and then we can also like reverse the rules where, okay, and maybe instead of pushing forward and trying to take as least damage as possible, like we're in a situation where we got broke, and now we're in a position where we need to start creating space from this player. So just like let's just say I'm fighting somebody right here. My internet's kind of going up and down, so if I like lag, that's why. If I'm in a fight right here, right, and this person ends up breaking me, okay, well, now I'm not really too comfortable to be, committing to fighting, NBX. So I'm like, okay, this is kind of risky. I'll probably die if I do this. So instead of staying here, what I'm going to do is, same concept. I can't take out my gun. Wow.
That's okay.
I'll be like shooting, come into cover.
And that causes me to try and fight back, right?
No, sorry. I'm trying to do it, like I'm trying to show this, but every time I move, I like lag forwards and backwards, and I can't do anything.
It's okay.
I have like
That's rough.
20 packet loss right now. Jesus Christ. Okay, there we go. It's kind of looking like it's starting to get. Okay, so essentially we'd be fighting here, right? My shield's broke. Shoot and come back into cover, and then from cover, right, I can use that instant slide and back up.
Oh yeah.
Right? So now that I've created that space, if you were to try and push me, like right there, right?
Yeah, maybe
like,
I would have gone up and looked down.
well, no, not so
even
much that, not
realized,
so much that, but more so kind of like the basics of a gunfight in general, right? Where if I back up, you would have to push through the open, right? So so because of that, right? Just like how we were talking about before, like we'd have to push through the open space right here, right? I could control this fight essentially, and I would be the person who peeks when like and decide whenever you get to shoot. So in this situation, as we back up, right? Maybe the instant slide is enough to just back up and create that distance, but maybe this is a really good player, right? And instant sliding isn't going to quite cut it. So here maybe we'll instant slide and then come into a wall bounce and use that other mechanics to tie into the instant slide to overall become harder to hit.
Okay.
Can't wall bounce. I don't know how to do that.
You don't know how to wall bounce?
You know, on a wall bounce?
No.
No.
Oh, okay, sweet. Cool.
Like, other than just, like, jumping. I mean, I can, like,
Here,
jump off.
you show me what you think. You show me how.
Well, I just saw you, like, tap strafe into the wall and then, like, jump. Like, you jumped off the wall and got over all in, like, one jump.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
like that.
So this is essentially what we're doing here. All a slide jump is a, sprint, slide, jump into the wall, jump off the wall. Sprint, slide, jump into the wall, jump off the wall. All right. All right. Now, what chokes a lot of people up is they jump too late, which doesn't give them enough room to jump off. Right? Like you seen right here, I jump and I'm spamming my jump, but I'm not actually jumping off the wall. It's because there's not enough space. So we need to make sure that we have space between us to hit that wall jump. So that was just a little bit too much space. We want to kind of jump off 5 meters away from the wall almost. And right there, what you ended up doing was you slid and then you ran into the wall. Right? So we want to slide jump into the wall. It might be a little tough because there's this curb right here. We can do it on this wall instead. Right? And watch this. Right? Instead of maybe trying to hit the jump, practice this. Run, slide, jump, and just connect to that wall.
Yeah,
All right. Now we just pointed out another issue that you're doing is you're actually continuing to push forward, which is forcing you to climb like that. All right? So watch this. This is you. Run, slide, jump, climb up the wall versus run, slide, jump, slam into the wall. Yeah, perfect, just like that, right? Now what we're going to do is, once you hear that thud, thud. Now you can jump off the wall once you thud. So you just, you jumped a little too soon.
Yep. I don't know why I didn't jump right there. I don't know why, dude. I'm like,
You're good, you're good. So just break
it.
it down for a sec, right? Slow it down, break it down for a sec, right? Start over here, run, slide, jump. So you're sliding like way too soon. Like you're sliding from here, right? And then you have very little speed.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Right? So slide jump a little bit closer to the wall.
But then when I hit my jump.
So
like,
what
jump.
do you play on hold to crouch or toggle?
I
Like-
think I'm on hold.
You're on hold? Okay. Right, so I think this is what you're doing. You're running, you're sliding, and then you're letting go of your slide. You need to hold that slide while you jump.
Okay. Okay. Oh, okay.
And now you need to
that's
let go of the
better.
slide once you're in the air.
Yeah.
So hold slide
Okay.
in the air, and then let go of it.
And then let go.
Yeah,
I gotcha.
let go as soon as you're in the air. There you go. You just did a makeshift wall bounce right there.
Dude, I was totally doing that incorrect.
Yeah.
That's so good to know. Like, except I got to get that down because now it's like different.
Yeah.
You know.
That you literally just did a wall bounce right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Perfect.
Cool.
All right.
Yeah,
Now,
I was holding forward too, so I have to let go like after I do that.
Mhm.
Cool.
right?
Okay.
And now that you can kind of like do a wall bounce, you can start doing it on angles, right? Where you might come in on a 45-degree angle, and then you can add a directional input, right? So for example, I'll push back forwards towards the wall. That will hug me against the wall. If I don't put in a directional input, it will throw me away from the wall, right? Then you can add tap strafes. So I wall bounce in, tap strafe towards the wall. Now, something that is going to be very useful, talking about tap strafes now, for both of you guys, is the direction in which we slide out so that we can tap strafe back in. Whether it's with a wall jump or whether it's taking a fight in general, right?
Okay.
One of the better slides, because obviously you can slide, like let's say I'm fighting you, NBX, right? Obviously I can slide at you and tap strafe away, right?
Yeah.
But a really good tap strafe that is good all around from every angle, whether it's you're in front of me, you're next to me, looking down, whatever it might be, right? Is I actually slide on an angle and then tap strafe on another angle.
Oh, that totally makes sense. Okay.
Right? Because now I'm still moving towards you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Except when I'm moving towards you, I'm also going to be moving away from you almost, right? Because I'm moving towards the left or to the right. And then again, when I tap strafe, I'm going to cut again towards you, yet away from you, because it's going to move left or right of you. Right? So if I'm coming around a corner, right, it would be nice that, or sorry, in this situation right here, it would be nice that you kind of like tap strafe out and then in around walls. Right? Or if you're trying to hit a wall bounce, for example, right? The way that I'm going to do it is I'm not going to run parallel to the wall and then tap strafe into the wall. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to come out of the wall on a 45, tap strafe 45 into the wall. Like that.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Instead of like having to go, oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. It's almost less aggressive.
Right.
Yeah, and the tap strafe into the wall is a fairly difficult one.
Yeah, I can't get that.
It's definitely a tough one. So if you don't get it, trust me, like even I screw it up a lot of the time.
I was stoked to hear what you're saying. It makes a lot of sense. I've thought so much about, okay, if I'm in a fight and I've got to reload, like, what can I tap strafe in that situation? And which direction do I run and stuff? And hearing that, like, I could do something like that, when I watched you do that, it was just so, like, it's a big movement.
It is.
And so that was super helpful.
Yep.
Did you just go 2 directions? Can you do it twice in the air?
Yes, you just did it right there. Yep.
I did?
You did.
I didn't like see it from my perspective, to be honest.
It might have just been you actually didn't do it and your body was just shifting, right? But on a controller, it's actually really easy. Essentially, all you're doing is just, you did do it right there. It may not have been as strong, right? But you can do it like that.
Oh, yeah, look at that. That's crazy.
Yeah. So this is what you kind of have to understand about tap strafing. From the moment you leave, you guys understand what lurching is?
No, I've heard the term, and I think at one point I knew, but I don't know right now.
So the term essentially just means a directional input while in the air, right? So if you're on a keyboard, you can only do it on a keyboard and mouse, right? But when you jump up, you start adding directional inputs. You start shifting in that direction. The more lurches you can input, the harder you'll go into that direction, right?
Yeah.
So the harder you scroll wheel, the more aggressive you'll actually push there. Now, from the time that you jump, right, the moment that you jump off the ground, the second your feet leave the floor, you have up to 0.4 seconds to implement as many lurches as possible, right? So that's why if you slide jump and then you try to tap strafe really late, you actually don't get it quite as nice tap strafe, right? Or it doesn't push you at all. Maybe you just completely miss the timing. But if you jump and then tap strafe, right, you have way more time to get in more directional inputs. Now, the more that you lurch, this is important, the more that you lurch over time, the less impactful it becomes. So that's one of the reasons why you can really cut left hard, but when you come back to the right side, it's not nearly as strong. It's because your lurching is slowing down your momentum in the air.
Interesting. That makes sense. Just from doing it, like, I've definitely felt that, but I didn't realize that window was there.
Mm-hmm. And
I didn't realize you could do it multiple times like that. That's really... Does this look essentially like that? Not that, but...
I will say you did do it. Yeah, like that right there does look like this.
Okay,
Yep,
that's so
like
cool.
that.
I didn't realize.
How are you? I'm missing how
I do it
that. So when I
different.
tap strafe, I slide and then click my stick in like left.
Okay,
and
so
then I have the inputs that are pulling it, but I can't figure out how to then go right.
So have you set up your analog stick to tap strafe in all directions, forwards, left, backwards, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So essentially what we're doing, you and I, because his is very different. He's scroll wheeling and using his mouse to push left and right. We're purely using our left analog stick, you and I, right? What we're doing is we're starting off, we push right on an angle, and then we flick right. Kind of like if you've ever played the game Skate, right?
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
You're sliding, you go right on an angle, and then left, and you're pushing down the entire time, right? So we're not clicking and pushing in one direction. We're, like, us clicking down is what's activating the turbo, right? And then once we start pulling in that direction, the turbo will keep pushing that specific direction.
Okay.
Right? So we're essentially slide jump and then angles, right? 45, 45. Or you can start off left, right? Or like hard in one direction, like slide jump hard one direction, and then scoop it, you know, upwards, and kind of do like a half moon or something like that.
Sure.
Yeah, there you go. You just did it right there.
That,
you just
that
did
looked
it.
like it. Yeah.
Okay. I gotta get used to keeping that like clicked in.
So this right here is essentially the same thing as sliding out on a 45 and then 45ing back left or back right, right? Because essentially, like what we're trying to mimic here with the double tap strafe is a tap strafe left and then a tap strafe right. We can sort of do the same thing by simply, instead of sliding forward and then double tap strafing, we actually slide on the angle, right? We tap strafe, we start off sliding on that angle and then tap strafing back in.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. It's such a big move compared to when you don't do it that way. Yeah, that's super cool.
Because you get more distance off the slide, right? And then because you're not having to go forwards and backwards mid-air, you can actually just hit a larger movement to the left or to the right. So when we're in a confined space, like if we come inside this building here, if we're in a confined space, right, like this, maybe as we come in here, right, I'll come in on an angle, and then that way when I tap strafe, it might be like I can do like a large tap strafe. I'm not really hitting it for some reason right now. Right, or we can, you know, if it's super confined, what we can do is we can do the double tap strafe like that.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So basically, like, depending on where you are, you can utilize, like, if you're in a tighter hallway, you wouldn't necessarily be able to do a bigger one, but you could choose in that moment to do a double and have a similar effect in the smaller area.
Exactly, yeah. So as, you know, we get better at the game and we figure out how to do these different moves, right? The way that I want you to think about this is, you know, you guys watch sports?
Yeah, I do.
All right. So it's kind of like you're the coach as well as the player, right? You're going to be the person going, okay, team, like we're going to call, like we have a playbook, right? And these are all the different plays that we can use in this quarter of the game, or like that would help us like being on the offensive, right? Like the way that they're playing, right? We have these different moves that we can play against them, whether it's a tap strafe or a wall bounce, right? Or I'm going to instant slide around, do this, do that, right? We know what we can do because, you know, we're capable of doing it, right? Now it's up to us as the player to pick which play that we're going to use and actually execute it, right? So just because you can tap strafe doesn't mean that you have to, right? But for example, you know, like, sorry, another good saying is like, there's more than, you know, one way to skin a cat, right? That's the same concept that we're going to be using, you know, while we're taking gunfights, is I can go about this so many different ways. What way do I feel is going to work best, right? So for example, if there's somebody in this room right here, right, there's two entrances. Well, actually, technically there's three. There's one, there's that side, and then there's this window, right? So maybe I can start by fighting here, come here, tap strafe around this wall, right, so that I'm more efficient, and now I'm fighting from this window, right? And then maybe if you know how to super glide, like you hit some crazy super glide shit right here, right? But there's so many different ways that you can like interact with the environment around you, whether it's movement tech or just like whatever it might be.
Okay, that is so helpful. Got it.
Am I doing the tap strafing twice when I do? Like
Yeah,
that?
you are doing it. You are doing it.
Yeah.
It just
That twice?
it's very short in that first time. That second time you did it was much cleaner, right? But the first time you did it was really short in one direction, and then
Yeah, that's cool because I'll bet like just thinking about that, like people probably like overreact a little bit to your first movement, and then have to like correct big time coming back the other way.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of the time what we're doing is we're using this to like break ankles or to empty out people's smegs. So for example, something that I do a lot, right, is if I'm in a 1v1 with somebody and they're playing like a knockdown shield, those are so hard to fight against, right? Because you can sit inside that, that person can sit inside their teammate and the knockdown does so much for them. Like they're almost untouchable, especially with a rotating piece of cover. Like the teammate just follows you, and all that guy has to do is sit in his body.
Yeah.
Something that I do a lot is when I'm pushing, right? Like maybe Newman, I'll just pretend that this guy right here is like the knockdown teammate, right? Something that I'll do is I'll kind of like bait off a shot, and then I'll tap strafe like that, right? Or I'll try and do something like that to drag out that person's magazine, right?
Yes.
And then once that magazine's empty, then I just get like literally right into them while they're reloading, right? And now I don't have to worry about walking up on somebody who's holding like this god-sent piece of cover.
That makes sense.
Right? So we're using tap strafing to avoid shots, to empty out magazines, to reposition, to incorporate other movement tech like wall bouncing, right? We're always using movement tech in various different ways, right? Another awesome tap strafe based mechanic is like a 180 off of a wall. So for example, like let's say, you know what? I think this works right here. Let's say I come out this door, right? And oh shit, there's no cover here. This is all open space. What am I gonna do? Right? Instead of trying to like maybe climb up here, right? Maybe the guy that's pushing you is also kind of hurt, right? Or maybe we can do something to, instead of it being, you know, he's 100% gonna win because he has more health, we can maybe put it into a 50-50 mode where I can do something that will give me the opportunity to get a clean hit on him, right? So maybe as I come around this corner, remember we're going to tap strafe off of a 45, so I'm gonna run out this way, slide jump, tap strafe into the wall, right? So as I come around this corner, tap strafe, 180 around.
Oh.
I messed up
And
that
after you jumped off the wall, did you tap strafe back?
Yeah, and then you'd be doing a
Wow,
180 tap strafe.
That's very cool.
I kind of missed that wall jump right there, right? But essentially, right, this person isn't going to expect you to like be up in the air right there.
Right. Yeah, that looked like if I was chasing you, that would be a really weird move to see.
So you're tap strafing after you jump off the wall. So you're tap strafing in, jumping, tap strafing off.
Yeah, so this is where things start to get like really tricky. Where exactly just like you said, I'm slide jumping out on the 45, looking this way.
Looks interesting over here.
Right, which makes that this tap strafe a lot easier to hit. Right, so I'm sliding out here, tap strafing, bouncing off this, and then off of this wall jump, I'm 180ing around. So playing on a really slow sense is hard to do these mechanics, right? Even I find this to be quite hard with the sense that I'm on. I feel like it's just slightly too slow. Versus if you play mouse and keyboard, you can really flick your mouse and whip yourself around. It might be a little difficult because this little thing is right there. Actually, I don't even know if that's would affect you. Yeah, just like that. Now, something that's important with the wall jumping is remembering that you can only connect to a wall if you're looking directly at it or 45 degrees away from the wall. Once you break that 45 degree mark, doesn't matter if you're in the middle of a climbing animation, it instantly kicks you off, right? So take that into consideration when you're hitting a wall bounce. When you're tap strafing into a wall bounce or while you're turning into a wall bounce, you have to make sure you're looking directly at the wall or 45 degrees left or right of the wall. Anything more than that breaks the connectivity to the wall and you won't jump off of it.
Okay, I didn't realize that. Oh, that's probably why I mess up my wall jumps a lot.
Yeah.
Like if I'm going against the wall, I'll try and do like the thing where you just climb up really quick.
Yeah, the parallel
And
wall.
I whiff the bounce a lot. It must be my angle.
Yeah, it's purely the angle. Even sometimes, right? Like you'll hit a 46 degree, not quite 45, right? And you're like, what the fuck? It should have worked. Why is my wall bounce not working? That's the reason.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so obviously the faster your sense, the easier movement becomes, but the harder aiming becomes. So, you know, there's a huge trade-off.
What sense are you on, Ty? 4-4?
Or 5 right now.
Yeah, so you playing on a slower sense, the 180 wall bounces will definitely be tough, right? But that doesn't mean that like you can't hit like 45s and stuff.
Yeah.
So this is something that we can definitely work on in the practice
Absolutely.
range and stuff, but also like just during the game. Like I find myself just trying to bounce off stuff all the time.
Yeah,
So I can think
100%.
more
Yeah, in
about
game,
like
I'm always doing that. I'm always like, what if I practice a wall bounce off this, right? And then I'm constantly practicing off of everything, right? Because maybe one thing is like a really awkward spot, right? The more comfortable you get in these weird spots, or the more comfortable you just get in general, the easier everything becomes. I used to think tap strafing was super hard to do, and now I can hit a grapple and then just perfectly tap strafe into a door with like the most insane momentum,
right.
right? And it just starts to become natural because you're getting used to the feeling of how far you have to pull your sticks or your mouse, or when you need to hit the timing and what angle you need to hit the tap strafe on, so on and so forth.
Right.
All right. Now, overall, the next thing that we're going to go over, other than movement tech, is just simply going to be the base fundamental to taking a gunfight, right?
Okay.
The theory that I use is aggressors always win, defenders always lose, right? Though, you know, there's exceptions to the rule. Like sometimes you push, you overcommit, you throw, you fucking die, right? And then the guy who is a 1 HP ends up clutching up because you just put yourself in the worst spot possible, right? But
Got it.
overall, when you're pushing, that person is always going to be on the defensive. They're always going to have to be reacting last to what is going on, right? So if I come tap strafing around a wall, right, I know that this is where I'm going to end up. This is where I'm going to be looking, right? And this is where the person is standing. Versus the other person, he goes, okay, what the fuck is going on? This guy's just flying around. He has to predict where you're going to go versus you already know where you're going to go. So you have an advantage. The more that you're the aggressor, the more that you can stack advantages against that person, right? Or the more that you can put advantages on your side and disadvantages on their side. So if I am over here and I end up getting a little bit of damage off of one of you, right? You don't know when I'm going to push, but you know that I want to push, right? So now I can kind of like bait you and tease you around this wall here, right? I'm listening to see if you're healing or whatnot. As soon as you stop peeking, right? Or maybe I shoot so that you stop peeking, right? And then now that you're not peeking, I can use that opportunity to like push up on you, right? I'm stacking these advantages against you, right?
Yeah.
Kind of makes sense. So we're always looking to go, okay, what can I do to force him to do something in my favor, right? I'm going to keep him behind that wall by shooting, holster on holster, pretend that I would have hit a cool wall bounce right there, right? And then you can push off of that. Same thing with defending, where if somebody hits us, we know that their goal is to push up and secure us as their kill, right? So we need to make sure that we create space from that person. If I'm here, you know, and T broke me, and I got broke, so boom, my shield's right there, right? And now he wants to push up on me, right? All that open space is great opportunity for him to take an insane amount of damage because I'm controlling the fight, right? The more that he pushes up and plays aggressive, the more that I'm going to back up, create space, and force him to play in the open. Right? And then I could keep shifting myself further away and behind new pieces of cover. And the more that he decides to push, the more he's going to get punished for doing that. Because he's going to keep stepping into the open because he has to, right? And then he's going to take damage for it, and I'm either going to back up, or if I get a good enough damage back, I'm going to push him instead, right? We're going to turn the tables and actually flip it and start pushing him, right? And essentially what we're doing is, if we kind of take this building, for example, if we look at like gameplay from like Fade or like Insane Movement Gods, right? It's not that they're winning gunfights because they're flying around the zip lines. What they're doing is they're constantly repositioning themselves, right? So if I start taking a fight on first, right, and I'm able to get up and, you know, get to third here, and he starts pushing me, right, I can continue to like essentially force him to chase, and I can always reposition and then keep moving around, right? So the more that I reposition, the more that he's forced to chase, which is opportunity for him to get pumped or get, you know, shot riding the zip line. And then once you get into situations where it's like, okay, like he's keeping up with me and he's actually getting in damage, then that's when you can start like creating like loops, for example. So I'll like pretend I'll hit like the zip line up, come around, climb, climb here, go back down into like this area, right? Super jump up here, right? And we like create these loops of our goals to get back to the zip line so that we can go back up, right? And then once we lose that person, right, they're, you know, we just keep repeating that over and over and over again. And it's the act of resetting, repositioning, dragging that player into the open, and then fighting them when they put themselves into a bad spot trying to chase us.
Okay, so are you trying? Is it right to say that from what you're saying, like do you put yourself in those loops, so that you can get to that? Is the end goal like waiting for that time when the enemy is basically in a worse position than you, like basically playing patient for that moment? Is that what you're saying?
Essentially, yeah. Just like if you ever watch like a soccer game or a basketball game, you don't storm the net, right? You're passing the ball around, waiting for that opportunity to create like an opening, and then you push for that opening. Whether it's, you know, you push that player yourself, or you know, whatever it might be. Where like I'm getting chased, so I'm going to constantly reposition myself, do damage, back up, you know, come back maybe. Right? And I keep creating these loops, and as people are pushing, I'm able to get in shots for free, right? And then back up, reset, repeat, right? And it's going to get to the point where I'm going to like break 2 out of the 3 people, right? They're going to be out of the fight, and now I have a 1v1 against 1 person. And now I can fairly confidently take that 1v1 knowing that I'm better, right? Knock that person, and then rinse and repeat the cycle. Start re-rotating through the building. Start dragging them back up the zip line. Start pumping them again. Dropping back down, forcing them into the open to chase me, pump them, knock them, and rinse and repeat, where we constantly create this space, right? We play on the defensive by creating space, and then we flip it and play on the offensive by punishing them for being in the open.
Wow, that is super interesting. I'm thinking about how like what you're saying like makes a ton of sense, and I do think that we were talking about before you jumped on, like we do feel like we try and play to advantages, and not in a stupid way, like not just trying to like push up on somebody and get shot even though we've just broken their shields or something. But if I'm being honest with myself, I definitely, like, let's say I do crack somebody, or like even if it's in this building, like if I feel like they've got damage on me and I've got a little more damage on them, I'm probably really likely to just like settle with whatever positioning I've got and go for it.
Yeah.
And I think taking the opportunity mid-fight to continue playing advantages, or being patient and not settling with what I've got and creating that loop like you're talking about, I feel like that's gotta be like that. I've never thought of doing that before, and so that's gotta be useful, if I'm being honest.
What I would say is go watch Fade after this session, right? Or go watch Ecstasy. Watch them play these buildings, right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they're doing. Is they're constantly, they either have a set pattern that they like to hit because that's what, you know, they're used to and they're really comfortable hitting that specific pattern, or they kind of just like free flow and they're playing off of what's going on in the building, and they're constantly doing these, I'll just call them loops, right? Where they drop down, drag people up the zip lines, rotate through the doors and whatnot, and they just do it over and over and over again, and they catch people that way, right?
Yes.
Same thing, like even in gunfights, like on the ground, simply just dragging people back. Like if you stay up there where you guys are, right? And let's just say I'm taking a fight over here, right? Playing from like right here, coming back, right? Now if this person wants to fight me, they're going to poke right here and I'm going to shit on them because they're climbing a fucking wall. Or they're going to come around the side, I'm going to pump them right here, right? And then from here, I mean, this is a bad example because it's a lot of open space here, right? But from here, you could do the same thing. They're pushing you, they have to go through this open space. And if they do, they get shit on. You back it up. You play over here now. If they want to keep pushing up, they have to keep moving through the open, which is a great opportunity for them to get shit on. And then once you get that break, you can turn the tables, right? And you can start pushing up back onto them.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I'm thinking of a lot of times where we'll be chasing somebody,
switching it up,
and we don't necessarily always die, but like they just put us in a position where we're not able to finish it off, and that's got to be what they're doing essentially. Well, sometimes they might just be running as far as they can, but like That it's definitely speaking to me, and that makes sense. And I don't think I think of. I try not to like just be a push W bot, but I definitely don't think of using positions behind me as an advantage. The only thing I think about going backwards is just to get cover.
Yeah.
And you're talking about it. You're like getting cover, but it seems like you're also using it as like an aggression, right?
Yeah, for sure.
That's cool.
Though it's cover, it is an opportunity to be aggressive, right? Because defending doesn't mean running. It just means that you're trying to keep people from pushing you. Just like aggression doesn't mean full sending into somebody. It means you're looking to be putting in that damage, right? Like if someone's being aggressive towards you, it doesn't mean they're punching you, right? Like it means like it looks like they want to.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? And it's the same thing here where we're not full sending, we're being aggressive. We're trying to get that damage in.
Right.
Makes sense.
Wow. Yeah. I appreciate you saying that. That's super helpful.
For sure. Are you guys ready to go hop in some games now? And now we're just going to start practicing all this?
Yeah.
Can I ask one question?
Yeah.
So I don't know if this one thing we find ourselves doing is like wondering, like when a teammate's like, hey, I've got guys